Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today, let's get into my review of what it was like studying psychology honours at Trobe University. So just a heads up, I disappeared again because I came down with a really bad case of tonsillitis that persisted for quite some time, which was not fun. Tonsillitis is one of the worst experiences I have honestly had. Sickness wise, so you probably might still be able to hear a little bit of that going on right now because some symptoms have persisted, and I'm aware that I have a build-up of some comments and you guys have asked me some questions which I'm planning to address, hopefully in video form. And again, thank you to everyone who has subscribed. So exciting to see this community growing, and it has made me more inspired to want to offer like the most amount of insight that I can and advice to help other people on their university journeys. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so I did the Bachelor of Psychological Science with honours at Trobe University, and off the bat I do want to say that this is going to overall be a very positive review. I know a lot of you, it's coming up to that time to do honours applications, and there are so many universities that you have to sort of deal with, and for starters, please apply absolutely everywhere. Do not miss out on any opportunity to have a spot in an honours program. So I got into honours at a few places. I got in at Vic Uni, I got in at Swinburne, Australian Catholic University, La Trobe, and RMIT. I did not get La Trobe first. I actually got ACU, Australian Catholic University first, and I was thrilled. I was very grateful. I immediately accepted that offer and, you know, did that like initial stuff where you enroll, and that was that. And I waited and I waited, and then I got Vic Uni, did the same thing. Swinburne did the same thing. I cannot comment on those universities because I did not actually study there, but I was not impressed with the list of options of what my thesis could be on in regards to ACU. I felt the list was very restricted. There wasn't a lot of diversity in 2021 to do with if you want to study maybe biopsychology, or, you know, a lot of it was to do with like gender and sexuality, which to be honest, like I didn't really want to spend a whole year on. So I just felt restricted by those options, and that's bound to change every year, by the way, so please do not like hold on to that and be like, oh my god, ACU, you know, no, they change projects every year. But unfortunately that year it was just a list of set projects that they already were interested in, and I looked at the list and freaked out because I was like, I don't want to do any of this. But then I got the offer from Vic Uni and Swinburne. Swinburne, I remember like, again, accepting the offer, logging in to like their portal, and oh my goodness, I can't remember what they use, if it's like Moodle or something, but I just remember having a bit of like, oh, what's going on? Like, how do I use this thing? The timetable was really strange, the timetabling. Then I was very fortunate that I got an offer from La Trobe University, and this was very exciting for me. Now, La Trobe University, from the get-go, the communication was so efficient and fast. As soon as I accepted the offer, I was given a list of the projects that had remained, because I did not get a first round offer, so there were students who had already, I guess, picked the projects that they wanted to do. I looked at the list, there was a lot to choose from, it was very, very diverse, and in an odd, I don't know how, but like I read the little excerpt from my supervisor, and I really appreciated like the tone of how he was talking about what he wanted to do, what he wanted to look at. There was no set specific project with him. It was just like an area of study that he'd love to do an experiment in. So there was some room there to sort of like the potential to customize the project and what I wanted to do. With La Trobe, it was very quick. It's like, here's your offer. I took the offer. I got given a list of projects. I was able to very quickly put in my preferences, and then I actually got matched with my top preference. The interview was set up so quickly, and I would say that within a 4-day period it was done. He agreed to supervise me, the meeting went fantastic, and I was settled. I was like, amazing, like that's done for me now, you know, there was relief there. So La Trobe was very good at that communication and just getting things organized. And then a few weeks later, like maybe 1 week later, I actually got an offer from RMIT. Now, there was a bit of controversy with RMIT in 2021. They sent out honour offers extremely late. Because it was so late, I just said to myself, I'm not going to risk it. I had a terrific interview with my La Trobe supervisor. He was awesome. We got along really well. So yeah, I said, no, that's all right. I rejected that offer and I stuck with La Trobe. So the first broad thing that I want to comment on is that from the moment I started at La Trobe, all the teaching staff made themselves very known and available. So I had proper contact information for subject coordinators, the course coordinator. They would tell you their times of like when they were available if you wanted to talk to them. They made themselves, you know, open to like send us an email, like get in contact with us. And I really appreciate that sort of environment. I guess maybe at RMIT sometimes I was like, who do I contact for this problem? Or, you know, waiting for a response. And I respect that professors and whatnot are busy, but just them verbally acknowledging that they wanted you to have open communication with them at La Trobe, I really respected that. And I did, like from the get-go, I felt very supported. And that was the tone for the rest of my degree at La Trobe, where especially when there were assignments being discussed, subject coordinators would always make it very clear when they were available. And you could get in contact with them for like they would be on Zoom, and then you could go onto the Zoom call during like a set period of time, and you could ask questions. So I just felt like there was a lot of opportunities at La Trobe to communicate openly with the teachers and to be seen and to be heard and to get help. So I really respected that from them. And the other thing that they sort of like set up as their environment from the get-go was that from the very, very first lecture, like meeting that we did as a whole cohort for honors, they were just acknowledging, like, this is a tough year, you're definitely going to be stressed out, we understand that, don't be hard on yourself, you know, obviously you're in honors because you worked really hard, and that's, you know, a testament to who you are as a student, and you deserve to be here. And just them sort of acknowledging all that stuff kind of, it made a big difference for me. Like, I felt like, okay, so we're all on the same page. Like, they were just acknowledging that students do get stressed out and they do doubt themselves, and, you know, you need to take time for your mental health and whatnot. And again, I just really appreciated that tone, because that tone sort of did carry through for the rest of the year. I felt like the teaching staff at La Trobe were the type to, obviously they had expectations and they wanted you to do things well and be independent, but there was a tone with them where there was a good friendliness there. And the other thing that I really loved about the La Trobe teaching staff that sort of stood out to me is that all the teachers in a weird way were like this community. So like they all knew each other, they all turned up to meetings and they would be in communication with each other. And I really liked that, because at RMIT everything sort of felt really disjointed. I didn't get any of that. I sort of just had like the teacher in front of me was the teacher in front of me, and then you just move on to your next class and that's it. Whereas La Trobe, there's a real sense of community. And I think what could be a little bit of a testament to this is that I did my honors at La Trobe during the COVID lockdowns, which means that all my classes were online. And one of the coordinators, so I was a student representative for the thesis subject, which again, if you can get into that stuff, please do. Always raise your hand to try and help out. That's a really lovely way too to get closer to the teaching staff and get to know them, because coming from another university, that was really important to me. I wanted to be comfortable. I didn't want to, you know, be at this new institution where I didn't know anybody. So definitely if the opportunity arises, put your hand up and be like, yeah, I'd love to be the representative for this class, because then you get to go to these little meetings where there are other teaching staff and you get to create those contacts. So I was a student representative, and a particular course coordinator, she felt really bad that we were stuck online, and the rules were sort of lifting in a way where we could probably go on campus if we wore masks and were like socially distancing and all that. So she had, you know, reached out to the student representatives, and she'd been like, listen, I really want to organize a student morning tea, and that was to give us an opportunity to just, you know, meet other students. And then we did that, and then from there she's like, you know, I could probably rent this space out if you students want to come and use it as like a study space, blah 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 blah. But basically there was just effort being put in to trying to like make the experience nicer for us. It wasn't like we were just dumped online, left online, and that was it. So that, I just, for the culture at La Trobe, I really did appreciate it. And I met so many wonderful, I met more teaching staff and got to speak to more teaching staff in 1 year online at La Trobe than I did at RMIT in 3 years. Maybe that was because I was at an honors level, as opposed to at RMIT I was just doing the 3-year bachelor's degree. So potentially that changes dynamics, where because you're a more mature student, there are like, and the cohort is smaller as well, that there are more opportunities for that. But that was something that did stand out, and I have to be very honest about that. The other thing that La Trobe did and does, I'm pretty sure it's a yearly thing for their honors program, is they hold colloquiums. Colloquiums? Colloquiums. Ooh, I don't know how to pronounce that word, it's been a long time. But basically these are 1 hour lectures, and all the honours students attend them, all the master students attend them, and they run 1 day a week throughout the entire semester. And these are actually, each colloquium, oh my gosh, I'm gonna butcher that word. Each one is a different researcher. Maybe they're from Swinburne, Deakin, Melbourne Uni, maybe they're from an institution like the Children's Hospital. They come and they present their research, and that was really, really cool because you get a taste for all these different areas of research. You learn all this really cool information that you didn't necessarily think you'd come across, and you know, you're encouraged to learn how to like ask researchers questions and be involved in how to communicate. I loved it, and I thought that was really cool that that was a bonus thing that La Trobe Honours offered that like my friends at RMIT didn't have. The colloquiums were an example too of where the teaching staff across the psychology department, they'd all turn up to it as well. So like we'd all be in this Zoom call and they would be asking questions, and again, just that community vibe and just having more opportunities to connect with staff and other researchers and get, you know, an understanding maybe of where you want to head with your own career. That was a really cool bonus. So I wanted to mention that because I don't know how many universities offer that. Okay, so the other thing that I really liked at La Trobe, and this kind of goes back to my first point about how I said that I felt like there was a lot of support offered. When it came to assignments, the teaching staff, again, just remember we were all stuck online for most of this, so I feel like they really did go out of their way to try and make sure we didn't feel cut off being stuck, you know, at home. But basically for assignments, there would always be like workshops set up to discuss the assignments, and you know, the teachers, some teachers in particular were more than generous in offering time slots where they're like, I'll be online this morning from like 9 AM till, you know, 9:45, pop in, let's have a chat, ask whatever questions you want to ask. And again, that creates this environment where it's a little bit stress-free because you know that, okay, I can, you know, not stress about this, I can contact this person. Email response rates at La Trobe were really, really good. Like, they did not take a long time to respond to emails in my experience. I think all this stuff is really important because you don't want to be at a university where you're like, God, I don't even know who to contact, no one's getting back to me, the teaching staff are really cold. Obviously, you know, at any institution you're going to get a mixture of personalities from the teaching staff, but I just think that at La Trobe, because they already set the tone that they're friendly and they're there for you and they want it to be a good experience, even if there were particular types of teachers who maybe were not so much on board with that personality type, they still had to comply with it, and I noticed that and I took note of that. So I just think there's room at La Trobe to be a student who asks questions and is inquisitive and, you know, has self-doubt and wants to seek a little bit of reassurance. So that's all the positive stuff that I found with La Trobe. I really loved their subjects. Okay, the research at La Trobe, I'm not gonna lie, I was really scared about because I had heard that La Trobe's undergraduate degree in psychology, the research statistics is really, really hard. Hard to the point where people have dropped out because they can't do it. And at one point, undergraduate students were even using like math calculators. Not like as an RMIT student, no, RMIT statistics is really honestly very straightforward. It's very theoretical. It's, if I can do it, I am very confident anybody can do it. It ended up being at RMIT everybody's best class. So there was a little bit of a discrepancy between how hard statistics was at La Trobe undergraduate and RMIT, and how would this affect me as, you know, coming into the university as an honours student. I'm going to admit there were some struggles with some content because it relied on you. They gave all honours students access to lectures from the undergraduate research classes. I found those videos difficult and I was freaking out because I didn't find the videos to be that straightforward and easy to understand, but that's what I was sort of being told. Well, that's your resource and you need to brush up on that in order to progress with the honours research statistics content. It all worked out. It really wasn't the end of the world. I think from my end, I had to put a little bit more effort in. I had to be a bit more patient. I ended up working through all those resources and like things started to click. But that was definitely, you know, whenever you're going into a new university, the question is always on your mind, what's the marking difference? Are they harsh markers? Like these little things that you get comfortable at your undergraduate university that you now have to step out into the unknown at a separate university. So statistics at La Trobe is definitely of a more sophisticated nature. There was nothing to do with mathematics or using calculators in honors psychology at all, so please do not like get scared by that. But I'm just saying that that was probably the hardest transition for me content wise. But again, at La Trobe for statistic related assignments, there were always workshops available. You could always email and ask questions. So it's just about please make the most of those things, because that's what's going to make you go from like, oh, this is really hard and I'm panicking. It's gonna change that, and it's just gonna become like, oh, this is really hard, but I think I can work through it. I did find the marking at La Trobe to be very good. To be fair, sometimes it was actually quite exciting. I would get grades a lot higher than I potentially expected to get, so I'm not sure if that's a reflection on me or, you know, their marking. Again, if you weren't happy with the grade, you were always able to get in contact and have a meeting, and that meeting would be very... I did one. I got a grade that I didn't approve of. Based off the feedback, I was very confused why I had lost marks, and I personally didn't agree with it. So I set up a time to talk to the coordinator who had actually marked my work, and when he came to the meeting, he was prepared. Like, he had gone back over my assignment, he'd gone back over the feedback, he was very efficient. He, you know, I think altogether the meeting lasted about 15 minutes, but it was just very good on his part. You know, it was just nice that he came and it wasn't like, oh, sorry, like, let me go over it. Well, no, he was completely prepared. I didn't get a grade change, but obviously I walked away with some of the things, you know, he had obviously been like, no, you actually did lose marks for this because of this, or you didn't actually lose marks because of that, and that cleared some things up with what I had been thinking. But the point was that I was offered that. I didn't really have to chase it up too much to have a meeting about my grade. And the one complaint though that did sort of float around with La Trobe a little bit in our cohort, on some assignments, feedback was very minimal. You might get a grade that you're not happy with, and then when you click into the document, you're not necessarily sure why you got the grade that you got, because the marker hasn't put in a lot of comments. Now, I think that that is a little bit of a problem across institutions, because all marking staff at universities say the same thing, which is we don't get given a good amount of time to mark each piece of work, and you know, we're very, very busy, we have a lot of stuff that we're doing, yada yada yada. I have my own opinions on that argument. Obviously there are students who are doing 1-2 jobs, you know, maybe they have kids they have to look after or family members, plus they have assignments, and that excuse doesn't really float the other way. That's a side note. You know, that's just, I've got my own thoughts on this excuse that markers will give or teaching staff will give. So I don't know if that's like something that I would use as a deciding factor for La Trobe University. Again, that is also very much dependent on like who's doing the marking the year that you're there. Like, it's just a bit of a mixed bag, right? And then some markers are gonna give you a much better experience with the grading system than others. I felt like La Trobe was really good, like the psychology department was really good at keeping everybody on track. I can't speak for other unis, but the way that assignments were laid out, everything was designed to help you for the larger milestones. Everything was designed to help you achieve your literature review, achieve your honors thesis. I never felt like I was left behind. I never felt like I was confused about where I was supposed to be. We were also encouraged to sort of communicate with each other, just see how like people with other supervisors are going, where are they at with their timelines. So all of that stuff, you know, it made the experience easier for me, and that's why I'm always like, you know, don't panic about honors, because you'll get everything done in the time that you need to get it done. And that's because that's the sort of way that La Trobe, they just pushed it naturally. It was like, okay guys, like this is where we're at. Congratulations, you know, we've got this much longer to go until this. You know, those little announcements that they make on the student boards and whatnot. Now, the last thing I should comment on is when you're an honors student, the most nerve-wracking thing is knowing that you want to move into masters, and you start panicking and you're like, how do I go about this? How do I do master interviews? What even happens? La Trobe helps you with all of this. Like, they did a very good job at holding workshops where they would discuss with you Master of Professional Psychology versus Master of Clinical Psychology. They would discuss with you what applying would look like. You have to do things for masters as well, like organize an academic reference, a professional reference, blah blah blah. I was in the position where my supervisor was going to be one academic reference, but I actually needed another one for master applications, but I didn't know any other teacher who could really vouch for me like that on a master's application. And La Trobe, like I said, and this is a testament to their community, a subject coordinator, actually, I reached out to her and I said, hey, I am planning to move into masters next year. I'd really appreciate it if I could use you as an academic reference. You know, I would love to do, you know, just like we can catch up online throughout the year and just discuss like how I'm going, this and that. And that was set up, and she was my reference, and it worked out beautifully. She knew my supervisor, she had met him. So, and you know how that came about? That came about because they had actually mentioned it. They had said, if you need to organize academic references, get on top of it now. Reach out to a staff member. So I felt very supported in that transition from honors into masters, and I think that that is really important. I'm not sure how that has looked at other universities. The disadvantages at La Trobe, again, it's just the more common stuff that you find at every university. So like lack of comments in, you know, assignment feedback here and there. The other thing is that there's always those assignments where you do them and you're just like, this is poorly written, like these instructions are not, they don't make sense. This is stuff though that I encountered at RMIT on and off, so I'm like, I think that's kind of just more, that's just university in a way, you know. But what's really important is, what's the culture? Who are the people that you have to communicate with? Cohort wise, I think there's 100 people in the honors La Trobe psychology cohort. I thought it was a good bunch, a good mix. You know, we had the group chats going on Facebook, which sometimes were helpful, sometimes weren't. But I'm just saying that, like, even though we were all online, people were still open to communicating and seeking advice from each other and being there as just a friend. So yeah, I mean, overall, I highly recommend it. At the end of the day, your journey is going to be your journey. I never thought I would go to La Trobe University. That was not my first preference. I thought I was going to continue at RMIT. And I took a gamble, and that gamble definitely paid off. And I think that you just need to sometimes sit back and let things happen as they happen. Maybe you have a dream university for honors, but you don't get in and you get into another one. Well, see, maybe there's a reason for that. You know, I have made amazing contacts at La Trobe University. I had a really fun experience, and I'm not necessarily sure, like, I wouldn't trade that experience in just to rewind and get an earlier offer from RMIT to go there. I would still, in hindsight, go to La Trobe University. Okay, I'm gonna stop rambling. If I've left anything out, I'll make a part 2. I kind of want to do a review on RMIT as well for the 3-year undergraduate degree. But yeah, that is it. And if you have any experiences that you would like to share below, please let me know. And all the best with your honors applications. I know that this is a very stressful time, but you will get through it. You'll come out on the other side, and before you know it, you'll be sitting at some university with some supervisor discussing what the hell your project and experiment is going to be. I will see you guys next time. Bye!